halfway point of the rankings. What you got?
Okay, so 16, we decided on the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes.
Las Vegas Raiders. We were a little bit back and forth between the Raiders and the Dolphins.
Yep.
But we decided on the Raiders because, again, I think they're very similar to the Carolina Panthers. Complementary football. When they play that style of football, they beat a team like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
Then they don't, and they lose to a team like the Buccaneers.
Right.
Right? Two very good teams, very, very competitive teams
Right.
who are going to be there at the end of the line.
And they didn't just lose to the Bucs.
They got smashed.
They got smashed.
Absolutely.
And you can't get smashed by any team if you want to be considered a contender. And when they beat the Chiefs, they were considered a contender.
Yep.
They handed the Chiefs their only loss of the season. They're probably the only reason that a lot of people have the Chiefs not at 1. Stay tuned. We might. You don't know.
We'll see.
But the Raiders, like you said, they're confusing, kind of very similar to the Panthers.
Yep.
Where one game they'll be like, wow, this is a really good football team. And the next game it's like, whoa.
What's going on here?
What's going on here?
Yep.
Right. This is not the
Yep.
same team that I just watched last week.
They're still in an identity crisis. They don't know what they're driving. They don't know what the gasoline is for that car
Sure.
yet. They know they have a car, but they don't know what the car is or what kind of gasoline they need to put in that car. They don't know yet.
I think they need to lean more into
Running.
Josh Jacobs.
football,
Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
Josh Jacobs needs to be a bigger part of that offense.
Yep. Because when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, what did?
Right.
Ran it down their throat from the first snap to the last snap, running the football, winning the football game.
He's a good young back. Get him running the ball. Make the safeties come up.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta stop the run. Put him in the box. All of a sudden, you take Henry Ruggs over the top. He's a Tyreek Hill type talent.
Yes, he's got 4.29, 4.33 speed.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
So, the Raiders could be very good, and I would not be surprised if they're that 6, 7 seed in
I would agree.
in the wild card.
Yep. And let's switch over to the Dolphins. I think very similar story, right? Trying to figure out their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, just switched over to Tua, right?
Yeah.
Which I think was the right decision to make
Yeah.
because I heard something on one of the talk shows. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the perfect person to destroy an organization. Why? Because he's so darn good at the wrong times. It's hard to move away from him.
Right.
But he's not the long-term answer.
Yeah.
He never will be. He's been a journeyman guy, right?
Yeah.
He's a hired gun in a sense. You come in, help us out for a year, and then we're moving on to a long-term solution.
And that's exactly how I took it when I'm scrolling through Instagram comments. Everyone's calling the Dolphins stupid for benching Ryan Fitzpatrick. Why would you do that?
Disagree.
Even Dolphins fans saying, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Well, because the Dolphins never picked up Ryan Fitzpatrick thinking he was going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Hold us over. Show us if our other guys are good. See who we can keep, see who we can't keep.
Yep.
You're going to teach our young guy how to play football. And I understand Ryan Fitzpatrick is upset that he lost his job and he was doing pretty okay. But I think Tua is the future of this franchise, and you have to treat him that way.
Yep.
I would, if the teams above the Dolphins weren't just better, I would love to put them higher.
Agreed.
Because I am high on the Dolphins. I think their stock is climbing.
Yes. Agreed.
Tua did not have a fantastic game against the Rams, but he didn't make any mistakes.
Yep, didn't sink
which
the
is
ship.
key. He didn't sink the ship. That's right. I mean, he got force fumbled by Aaron Donald. Oh no, it happens to literally everyone. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Welcome to the NFL.
I think with the Dolphins, right, and we got to see it. We got to see a glimpse against the Rams. That was ideal complementary football.
Mm-hmm.
Punt return for touchdown.
Yep.
Defensive touchdown.
Yep.
Offensive touchdown.
Yep.
That is winning formula. Why do you think the Patriots have been so good the past 20 years? That is what the Patriots have done.
Right.
Miami, if you can do that, watch out.
Yeah.
They might threaten the Bills because we'll get to them later, but
I think they're still wild card, but I think they could be the Titans of last year.
A surprise.
You know what I mean?
Like a dark horse team.
It could be that way where the Dolphins are just one of those teams where
they sneak up on you.
They do sneak up on you, and when they lose football games, you don't feel like you're questioning them. You're like, you played a good game, you had a good go, but you just came up a little short.
Yep.
You never feel like they're falling apart, which is this. I feel like this line right here in the power rankings, Dolphins and up, is everyone who's like, these are good football teams.
Exactly.
These are good football teams who are gonna fight that second half of the season.
Yep.
And don't be surprised by the Dolphins.
Hey, I'm with you. So let's go to number 14. We got the Cleveland Browns.
I think I had them on mine. I had them a little high.
You had them at 13.
But I think I'm okay with 14. Baker's too inconsistent.
Yep. I can't hang my hat on that right now.
If he was more consistent, I'm like, now that I think about it more, I'm like I almost want to put the Dolphins higher, but Dolphins haven't shown enough to do that. So I think that the Browns have been able to show that they can win football games in an outstanding fashion. But when they lose games,
and so you missed the key word there, against bad teams.
Yes.
When they play good teams, Pittsburgh 6 points, the Chiefs 3 points, Las Vegas Raiders 6 points. That's not a good trend. That's not a good trend.
It's not a good trend. You're right.
And to have the Raiders in there, that's even worse because I would not even put the Raiders close to Pittsburgh or Kansas City.
You're right. I just the Browns, when they're good, they're so good. Like, it's so hard to ignore that they have that potential to be so good. Mm-hmm. And every team below the Browns has never really shown that they can be so good.
Right.
I mean, other than arguably the Raiders. But the Browns have done it more than once. And
excuse me, it was the Ravens, not the Chiefs. I apologize. It was Baltimore and the Steelers. My apologies on that.
That win against Indianapolis rings with me because the Browns have the best running game in the NFL right now. Bar none.
Yeah.
Quarterback play can go from best player in the AFC to
a journeyman.
Yeah. Journeyman, right.
Yep.
Which is probably what Baker's career is going to end up being.
It looks like it will be.
That defense, again, can be a menace,
yep.
Sack machine, Myles Garrett winning AFC Defensive Player of the Month.
Yeah.
Or it could be cowering in a corner against the Raiders.
Right.
So it's very like the second half of the season will tell us whether 13 is way too low or if it's way too high.
Right, and that's the thing with them. They're at the end of the year, they're either going to be in maybe the top 10 or they're going to be in the lower half of the league.
This team will not be in the middle of the pack.
Nope.
By the end of the year.
Nope.
We have them there because
of what they've done.
Right. But this next team is
still confuses
similar in a sense.
Still, we're going with Chicago Bears.
Yeah. They again. I was looking. Why did they bench Mitchell Trubisky after going 3-0? I'm starting to question that. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously, do we think Mitch is the answer in Chicago? No. But
I don't know if Nick Foles is either.
Correct. It's very confusing as to why you bench someone when you were 3-0, and then you put in Nick Foles, who granted makes some great throws, but he's not. It's not. It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't. That's the thing. This team is so confusing.
They could have beat the Saints and it wouldn't feel good.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they're putting these fights up against really good teams, which is why we have them above the Browns.
Right.
Because they're constantly in games. They're in every game they play.
And that's the thing too, right? They're in games, right? And even on their losses, right? They lost to the Colts, 19-11.
Okay.
Right? They lost to the Rams. That was the biggest loss they had, 14 points, right?
Sure.
10-24. They lost to the New Orleans Saints, 26-23. All those losses made sense, right? And that they beat good teams. They beat Carolina. They beat the Bucs.
I'm pretty sure all those teams they lost to, we have above them right now.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're losing to teams that are worse than them. They're losing to teams that are better than them. But most of them are competitive. I think like you said, one of them was 14 points or whatever.
The Rams. Yep.
The rest are one possession games, and they're good football teams. They beat the Bucs. They're not pushovers.
No.
But what Bears team are you going to get every week?
That's it.
If you put the Bears against the Browns, it would be a coin flip.
It's Pandora's box every week.
It's not a coin flip because they're so similar in talent. It's a coin flip because you don't know if one of them's going to have the bad team, which one's going to have the bad team, which one's going to have the good team.
Right. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. And we'll see.
Yeah.
We will see in the second half.
For sure.
Let's go to 11. Indianapolis Colts, another confusing team.
Yeah.
From 10 down, I feel very good about all of them. 10 to 12, or 11 to 13, confusing teams.
Mm-hmm.
Confusing teams, because again, very similar. You know, what team are you going to get? From 11 to 13, it's a coin flip.
Sure.
All right, now, with this team, are you going to get a Phillip Rivers that looks like he's throwing a medicine ball, or is he going to sling it?
Right.
Right? This past Sunday, he was slinging that thing.
Yep.
He put up 41 points.
That's
That's
monster.
Yeah. Hung it on him, and then he goes to Cleveland, and he puts up 23 points. Right? And he loses to the Jaguars.
Right.
I mean, it's like...
Where are we going here? Right?
Exactly right.
A defense is very on and off sometimes too. Sometimes they give up a lot of points, and sometimes they shut down a team. I don't know, who did they play this past week?
They played the Lions.
Shut them down.
Smack them. Beat them by 20
Defensively and
points.
offensively, right.
Yeah.
It's just an absolutely sound football game.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes, again, they lose to the Browns.
Right.
So, like, what are you doing? What's happening here?
Exactly.
I think the Colts are primed to be a team that we look at right now. They are in the playoff hunt. I'm not sure they will be by the end of the season.
And that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they completely fall off.
Yep.
I feel like they're right on the cliff right now, and they just need one good push, and they're that, and they're really. I do. That's how I feel about them.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like they're looking for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
They just need. And there's one good team. They play Seattle. They play Baltimore on Sunday.
Good luck.
That might be that team. They play Baltimore, Tennessee, Green Bay, Tennessee. 4 games in a row.
That might be 4 losses in a row.
Yeah, and that will be the thing that ends their season.
I think they will split with the Titans, but I think those other games, that's losing 3 out of 4.
Yep.
So, and that pushes you off that cliff.
Yep, exactly right.
That's a rough stretch.
Yep. And all right, let's move on to Tennessee Titans. I feel like this is right where they should be.
Where did you have the Rams?
I had the Rams at 13.
Did we talk about that?
Oh no, we didn't.
I think we skipped the Rams.
Sorry, y'all. We're gonna go to 13 really quick.
I was waiting for you to mention the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck happened to the
I
Rams?
yeah. So sorry guys, we're gonna go to 13 real quick. I skipped them. LA Rams.
We could talk. I mean, the Rams are, again. We could write the same script we wrote for the Browns and the Colts.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
Who are you this week?
Exactly.
Right.
11 to 13. All the same kind of stuff.
When the Rams are good, they look like, Super Bowl Rams.
Mm-hmm.
When they did back in the day. When they're not good, they lose to the Dolphins.
Right.
And it's just like, how do you? And people will say, well, the Dolphins beat the Rams. How do you have the Dolphins lower than the Rams?
The Rams beat themselves.
We're looking at the body of work.
Right.
And you're right. When the Rams lose, they beat themselves
Badly.
a lot. Yeah.
Badly.
They don't. It's not because the Dolphins did play well. Let's not say the Dolphins did play well.
No, absolutely.
But when the Rams lose, it's not good.
And that's the thing.
They look like a very pedestrian team.
The Rams don't lose because the team beats them. They lose because they beat themselves.
Right.
And why I think the Rams are better than the Dolphins right now is because when the Dolphins lose, the teams force them to lose.
Mm-hmm.
When the Rams lose, they force themselves to lose.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
Yep.
So if the Rams can just figure out how do we not beat ourselves, we're talking business.
Which November you're looking at mid-season form for football, so
Yeah.
we will see exactly which they land on.
Yep.
As a football team.
Yep. So all right. So now let's go back to 10 now. Tennessee Titans. What do you think?
I'm frustrated with them because they're one field goal away from going to OT with the Steelers and probably winning that game.
Most likely. They had a lot of momentum.
But now they've lost 2 in a row. One of those games to a team that is 11 ranking spots under them in the Bengals.
That was a bad loss.
And we talked a little bit about them when we talked about the Bengals. Your winning formula cannot be, well, let's go down by 3 scores and come back in the third quarter.
That's not a successful
In the fourth
formula.
quarter. You can't do it. It's not feasible to consistently make that happen in the NFL. I don't care if Ryan Tannehill's playing out of his mind. I don't care if Derrick Henry's a late game bloomer. I don't care.
I don't either.
I don't care if your defense doesn't show up until the fourth quarter.
Right.
And in this past game, they didn't show up at all.
Right.
So, I think if we hadn't seen them absolutely just go through the first 5 games of their schedule with W's, This would not be a top 10 team.
And I'll tell you
because
what.
you have to consider that, they are just breaking into that top 10.
And I'll tell you what, too. The thing with the Titans, I'm down on them because I'm just looking at their wins. They beat the Broncos 16-14.
Tight.
They beat the Jaguars 33-30.
Tight.
They beat the Minnesota Vikings when they were awful, 31-30.
Tight.
They had a bye week. This is the only win that I actually felt good about. They beat the Bills 42-16.
A real good win.
They beat the Texans, not a good football team, 42-36.
And that was another game that came back.
Right. Lost to Pittsburgh 27-24. And they lost to the Bengals 31-20. I don't like that trend. That's not an upward trend to me. That's a downward trend.
It's a roller coaster, and they're heading back down on that roller coaster.
Yep.
Who they got next week?
They play the Bears, then they play Indianapolis, they play the Ravens, and then Indy again.
I'm very interested to see how they play.
I can see them going 2-2. If they go 2-2, they're in trouble.
If they
have to win 3 of the 4.
Depending on how they play against Indy, could very well define their season.
Agreed.
And define the team who wins that division. We have both of these teams really close to each other in the rankings. I believe it's 10 or 11.
We both have them at 10.
The Titans and Colts.
Oh, yep. Indianapolis is 11, Tennessee's 10.
Okay, yeah. So we have whoever wins a majority of those games that they verse each other coming up, it's probably going to win that division.
Yep.
And it's probably going to set themselves up for a good playoff push.
Yeah, I would agree.
But the Titans are not looking great right now. And you have to look at, we are looking at that body of work, but also they are getting way too tight of games with teams that should not be that tight. Granted, there are some times you're going to be in close games. The Bills against the Jets. It's going to happen sometimes.
Of course.
But it can't happen every time.
Nope.
Can't happen.
And that's the thing. You keep the games close enough, you're going to lose some.
Yep.
You're going to lose some. But let's go to number...
Now, these next 9 teams, these are, to me, I think it starts here. You might disagree. These are your Super Bowl contenders.
I would agree with that.
I think these are your Super Bowl contenders.
I would agree, 100%.
And I think it starts here.
I would agree. And this is a surprise for some people. Arizona Cardinals, number 9. I'll tell you what, Kyler Murray is getting better and better.
They're a very similar team to the Seattle Seahawks. And that's how they beat the Seahawks.
Which is not a good recipe for the Seahawks because they play... What's the best way to describe it? The Seahawks are good at playing to the weakness of another team. I think that's the thing with them. I like their coaching staff. I like that Kyler Murray. He's very pliable. The only thing I don't like about him is I just don't want him to get infatuated with the big play, right?
Sure.
Make the simple plays. Make the plays that are important.
Yep.
Because when the big plays come, you'll be ready. Trust that.
Yeah.
And
the reason the Cardinals are 9 and they're under the Seahawks, which are further down the list, is because Kyler is, again, more inconsistent than Russ is. Russell, you know what you're getting week in, week out. It's not going to be his fault you lose a game. He'll say it's his fault, but it's not. Very similar offensively. Cardinals have Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, who's still firing at almost 40 years old.
And they have Kenyon Drake, who's
running the ball well. He's out this week. He's going to be out for the next few weeks.
He got hurt.
So you got Chase Edmonds, who's a good back.
Yep.
It's not a bad place to be. That defense is not great.
No.
They have a few pieces that are pretty decent.
And that's the thing. They can do enough.
Correct.
Right? They don't have to win a football game. Just do enough to let the offense get enough possessions.
Correct.
You put the ball in Kyler Murray's hands enough times, he's going to get points. You just have to give him opportunities, give him chances, and he'll produce.
And when the Cardinals are not good, they lose to teams like the Lions. But when they're firing against the Seahawks and they win.
Right.
So you really have to. This team has to show more to be in that upper echelon.
But they're getting there.
But the way they are right now, I think they're getting to that contender situation.
I like how they're looking.
Absolutely.
I do. Okay, so let's go to number 8.
This is where we started to disagree.
Yep. Now, you had Green Bay, but I think we decided on New Orleans.
Yeah, we did decide on New Orleans at 8.
So we got New Orleans Saints at number 8. They just haven't impressed me. They have. I think the thing that's helped them win football games is they're a very talented roster.
Yes.
And I think that's the only reason. I think Drew Brees is aging.
Yep.
Michael Thomas has had no presence this whole year.
Yep.
thank goodness for Alvin Kamara.
Yep.
He's won them more games than you can count on one hand.
Especially with Michael Thomas out most of his first half of the season.
And that defense has been pedestrian.
Yeah.
That secondary has been it's been good, but that front seven, very pedestrian. I'm not blown away by them.
This next week is going to be very telling against Tampa.
Yep.
If they can beat Tampa
twice,
like they did week 1, twice, right? That puts them. You probably swap Tampa and New Orleans because of the way things pan out. But New Orleans they're getting wins. It's good, but they're not getting wins that are exciting. They're not getting wins that make you go, "Wow, that's a really great football team."
Right, like they beat the Buccaneers 24-23.
Okay, tight one.
They lost to the Raiders 34-24.
Yep.
They lost to Green Bay 37-30.
Right.
They beat the Lions 35-29. They should have blown them out.
Yep.
They should have killed the Chargers. They only beat them 30-27.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Carolina Panthers 27-24. And they beat the Bears 26-23. Again, close games, you're going to start to lose those.
And when you look at those 2 middle games that they lost, one was against Green Bay, which now I'm starting to kind of.
And that's why I went there.
That's why you went there, yeah. When you look at that,
they're not convincing. It doesn't make you feel good.
They need to beat contenders in this November month. Who they got coming up?
And they need to assert themselves.
Yep.
They're too wishy-washy.
Mm-hmm.
They keep the door open way too wide and way too long, and they allow teams to stay close.
Yep.
The Saints of old, they would get a lead and they would slam the door right in your face. You're not going to come back.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they don't do that. They don't have that ability anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's why we had them at 8.
Who do they have coming up?
They have they play the Buccaneers on Sunday. Then they got San Francisco, which they could lose to.
Sure.
They got the Falcons, and they have the Broncos. They need to win at least 2 out of 4 there.
I think they need to win 3 out of 4.
I would agree, actually. Yeah,
if they don't win 3 out of 4, that's concerning.
Yeah.
Because if they lose to the Bucs, fine. You split the series with them 1-1.
Which I think that's what's going to happen.
But if you lose to the Niners, Falcons, or Broncos,
it's bad.
That's a problem.
Yep.
That's a problem for a team that's a top 10 team.
Yep.
So they need to go 3 or 4 at least.
I agree.
And then you said 7, obviously.
So 7, Green Bay Packers.
They are concerning me with how they lose.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
They're like almost the opposite of the Saints, where like when the Packers win, they win big.
Yep.
They win big. It's not tight. But when they lose, it's bad.
And I will say this: I think with the Vikings, I think that was a fluke. I think if they played them 4 to 5 times, they would beat them 4 times out of 5.
Yeah, but still, the Packers have such a bad run defense. Their run defense can't stop a Fiat going 10 miles an hour, or 2 miles an hour. That defense has problems.
Yep. And that's the thing, you put all your eggs in one basket, aka
correct.
Aaron Rodgers. He can't do it all the time.
And I gave this stat last week. Aaron Rodgers, when trailing at any point in a football game, has a losing record.
Yeah, it's not good.
As soon as I saw the Vikings take that lead,
You're in trouble.
I'm like, oh, this is over. This is not good.
Yep.
Because
wow,
8 weeks in, that's the first time that's happened.
I know, I'm surprised.
That's the first time that's happened.
I'm honestly surprised that it happened. Yeah, that's fine.
I think the way they lose is bad.
Yep.
And they need to be able to get Aaron Jones back.
Yeah.
They need him back. They need him back badly.
Yep.
Because when Aaron Rodgers is being asked to do too much, that offensive line can't protect him for too long.
Yeah.
And then there's problems.
Yep. Agreed. Okay, let's go on to number 6, Buffalo Bills.
They're a good football team.
Agreed.
They're a good football team.
Agreed.
I think this is, and then now I'll say this is a point in the power rankings where you're hitting that upper echelon of football team.
Yep.
The Bills did lose to the Titans. It's a rough one.
That's an okay loss.
Yeah, and who else did they lose to?
The Chiefs.
Okay.
Those are 2 good losses.
You lost to the Titans when they were rolling.
Yeah.
And you lost to the Chiefs, who are the Chiefs.
They're a bust.
So the Bills obviously need to be able to show that they can beat contenders. They have way too close to the game against New York.
And New England.
And New England, right. They need to be able to pull out further ahead.
And that's,
but those are also division games. People underestimate that division
games are always close.
They're going to be tight.
But I will say this, though. They don't win games with authority. And again, a win is a win in the NFL. I get that. I understand it. But, again, you see it every year. There's always 3 or 4 teams that get plagued with this concept of you keep games close, you lose some bad football games, and you end up not getting into the playoffs. So you end up not getting the position you need, right? Let's look. They beat the Jets 27-17. That's too close.
And it was too close most of the game.
Yes. Week 2, they beat Miami 31-28. That's too close. They beat the Rams week 3 35-32. That's too close. They beat the They beat the Raiders 30-23. That again, that's only a touchdown.
Yeah.
They lose to the Titans 42-16. They lose to the Kansas City Chiefs 26-17. They beat the Jets 18-10. They beat the Patriots 24-21. Listen, you run that back a second time, they probably lose 2 of those games.
Yeah, for sure.
Which means they're now 4-4 instead of 6-2. That's a big difference.
The Bills their September was great. They had a great September. Their October, they're starting to show a little bit of weakness, which a lot of people weren't expecting. Right. Josh Allen needs to be able to put up bigger numbers. He's got to rely on that receiving core. They need a running back. I don't know how they let Le'Veon slip. They should have locked him up. Granted, Le'Veon probably said, I'm going to the Chiefs.
That would have changed the game for them.
They would have been, and they probably would be higher on this list.
Yeah.
But the Bills are a team that I think come the end of November are really going to start to be at that high tier of playing like they've never played before.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not all the way on board with them. I'm getting there. I'm boarding the ship. Mm-hmm. But I'm not there yet. Because again, a lot of close wins that didn't make me feel too bubbly inside, and some losses that didn't really make me feel too good either.
Don't underestimate people having to come to Buffalo in the winter.
Oh, that's nasty.
It's going to be rough.
That's nasty.
It's going to be rough for a lot of teams.
And they need to capitalize on it.
They're going to get a lot.
Because in the years past, they haven't done that.
Yep.
They let people come in there and walk all over them,
yep.
a.k.a. the Patriots.
Yep.
They've gone there 7 years in a row, and they've won in their house every time.
Yep.
This is the first year they broke that, so we'll see.
We'll see.
Number 5. This, for me, this is where I feel confident in these last 5 teams.
I agree.
Baltimore Ravens at 5. And I'll say this, and I think this is all I need to say. That defense is lights out.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson needs to be better.
They have an over-reliance on Lamar Jackson, and it's very clear.
And they have an over-reliance on Lamar Jackson in the sense of they're trying to get him to do MVP plays.
Every play.
Just be Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Make the right plays, and you will do said MVP plays. Stop looking for that.
I almost rolled my eyes on the last play of the game against the Steelers. Oh, I was close to the last game of the last play of the game, where on 4th and 3 or 4?
3.
It was a quarterback draw to Lamar Jackson. I rolled my eyes. I was like, really, guys? Come on. You got to think of something more creative than that. They know that's coming. They know
exactly.
it. You probably would have been better off running a read option than handing it off the middle. Instead of taking Lamar Jackson, trying to put all your manpower behind him, and then him get stuck because he weighs 150 pounds.
Right.
You need to be more creative with how you use talent like Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. He was passing the ball better against the Steelers, which
is good. They're gonna need that.
That offense did better than most teams do against the Steelers.
Yep.
But it wasn't enough, and this division all of a sudden is on its head, where the Steelers look like they're gonna take that division. Because that defense is a menace. We'll get to them.
Yep.
But the Ravens need to get. Usually we don't say this. But they need to get more creative on the offensive side.
I would agree.
Because they are too simple.
Yep.
They need to get more creative. They have good receiver talent. They have a good offensive line. They have good running backs. Make it work. Throw in that Heisman formation.
I mean, you can only do PROs so much.
Right.
You can only do it so much. You ran into the ground all last year. You got to do something different.
Yep.
Got to do something different.
That defense is also good.
Ridiculous. So good.
It made almost made the Steelers' passing game look pedestrian. James Conner came in and made that.
Torched them.
Yeah. Ravens aren't obviously not out of it.
No,
Definitely
not.
They very well could have a second half of the season.
Resurgence, absolutely.
And it's crazy we're saying a resurgence, but they only have 2 losses.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's go to number 4. Seattle Seahawks. I'll keep this one simple. I don't think we need to say too much about this.
Yeah, we're getting into the point of the rankings where we're
It's
not looking at record. We're looking at because all of these teams are like Super Bowl
Right, exactly.
like conference championship, almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
And these teams, now we are dissecting these teams on their strengths and their weaknesses.
And who's going to beat who in the end.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So Seattle, defense is atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
We were going back and forth between Tampa and Seattle. I said Tampa needs to be 3 because their defense is lights out.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of offensively, I think they can keep up with Seattle, if not be better. I think
Especially
Tampa's the
now.
best team in the NFC, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think they're better than Seattle.
Yeah.
Because the defense will slow down Seattle if it comes to that. Seattle, I don't think they'd stop Tampa.
I don't think they verse each other this regular season.
No, I'm talking playoffs.
No, I know. Yeah. No, I'm thinking personally for myself.
Sure, yep.
I don't think they play each other this regular season.
They don't.
Which is unfortunate.
It is.
But then again, also fortunate because they will most likely meet each other at some point.
Yes.
It's tough because I want to say Seattle. I want to put Seattle at 3, but you can't be higher than a team that is just more well-rounded than you are. 2 of Tampa's losses, almost 3 against the Giants. That would have been really, really bad. Brady was pissed during that game.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not losing to the Giants again, not again. Tampa is a more well-rounded team, but it completely depends on the matchup. Because if you put Seattle against the Giants, it's probably a blowout just because Seattle's going to torch them offensively. That offense is just crazy good, but the defense is not that good.
Right, and I think the thing with Seattle, they have no run game.
Yeah.
They literally have no run offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where people will get confused as to why they might think Seattle is better offensively than Tampa. Tampa has the patience to sacrifice an entire first quarter to solidify the run game.
Sure.
They did that against the Giants.
Doesn't look good on statistics.
Right. But fourth quarter comes around, now Leonard Fournette is running down their throat.
Yep.
All game long, right? And that's where it pays. You're going to win football games with patience.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle is going to lose games because they're not patient.
That's how they lost to Arizona.
Yes, exactly right. And I think we kind of already talked about Tampa. I mean, I don't think we need to say too much more.
Yeah. So we got.
Tampa was 3, by the way.
Seattle
at
at
3.
4, Tampa at 3.
Yep.
Now you got your top 2.
I think I'll say this real quick. The only thing with Tampa they need to do, keep playing complementary football.
Yep.
And
very important.
Keep being patient with the run. Don't go away from the run. You have 3 bona fide studs there. You have Rojo, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Shady McCoy.
Yep.
Use those boys. Use those horses. That'll make it very easy for Tom. And when that gets easy, things like Las Vegas Raiders happen. Smacking the heck out of them. Things like Green Bay happen. Establish the run, and then Tom Brady will cut them up. Do that, and you will win the Super Bowl. Guarantee. Guarantee. If you establish the run, nobody is stopping that.
Imagine a Bucs Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium.
That would be nuts.
I mean, there might not be fans. There might be like
20%. They said
20%,
or 50%, maybe. But
hopefully we're at a point.
That'd be crazy.
50%. That would be crazy.
But number 2.
So hold on a second. I'm second guessing myself with this top 2. As we're talking football, my mind is in football mode.
You know how I feel on this. I think number 2 is number 1.
So let's switch it.
Okay.
Because I'm feeling it right now.
Good.
Because at the end of the day, the team I had at 1 that I'm now putting to 2 is not showing me. Yes, they are. We'll give it away. Yes, they are 7-0.
Right.
But your offense, in terms of your passing game,
shaky.
The past two games has been poor. Poor. The one game the Chiefs lost, it was bad game plan.
Yep.
Really. They just didn't run the ball enough.
Yeah, honestly. And they just decided to show up too late.
Right.
That was it.
So I'm proposing we put Pittsburgh at 2, Kansas City would win.
I agree. We talked about this last week.
We did.
I said
We
Kansas
did.
City should be one.
And I know I said that if the Steelers beat the Ravens, they should be one. But the way if you
We're gonna run out of battery here.
Well, we'll go quick.
Yeah.
If you eliminate each team's worst game and each team's best game, and you look at their body of work in those other middle-of-the-road games, Kansas City's the better team by a long shot.
And that's the thing, too. So many people get confused. Record doesn't necessarily symbolize how good or bad you are.
No.
Pittsburgh's a 7-0 team, but they're not better than Kansas City. If Pittsburgh
I'm
plays
agreeing
Kansas
with
City,
you.
they lose.
I'm agreeing with you.
They lose.
I think so.
And if Kansas City sees Pittsburgh in the playoffs, Pittsburgh is done. They cannot keep up with that offense. There's no way.
I think so.
And Kansas City's defense is good enough to slow them down.
Yeah, Kansas City's
Good
defense,
enough.
absolutely. Kansas City's defense will be able, when they do play each other, because they will.
They will.
Kansas City's defense will be able to slow down the Steelers' offense to a crawl.
Yep.
And then Kansas City's offense is just so diverse. They have
Too many
two good
horses in
running
the
backs
stable.
now. They have like 4 good receivers. They
Yep.
have Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. Everyone's healthy as could be.
It's nuts.
It is nuts.
It's ridiculous. But alrighty, y'all. That was it. Power rankings. 32 teams.
Done.
Got through it all. Definitely was not 40 minutes or under.
No.
That was impossible.
No.
But yeah, that was it, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Give us your opinions
Yeah.
on what did we mess up, what did we get right.
Sure.
I think you mentioned you might do timestamps.
I might do some timestamps. That'll be my first time, so I have to figure that out. But that shouldn't be too hard.
No.
What I'll probably do is I'll probably go from like 32 to 22, 22
give 'em a
to
range.
12, and then from maybe like 12 to 1. I'll do that, something like that. But alrighty, y'all. That was it. Check back in on Thursday for our Week 8 predictions as to who's going to win, and we'll also recap who won Week 7. And but until then, we'll see y'all later.
See ya.
Don't forget to vote.
Oh yeah, do that please.